everyone, this is me. Hello, this is me, like who else would it be? I am here to take a look at the Standard Playing Cards Tarot. I backed this on Kickstarter. I forgot about it, to be honest, and it showed up I've had it for a little while now. Under a week, but I have been airing it out because I will say this is the stinkiest card set I've ever gotten, but it's now smelling much better. So I thought I would do a quick walkthrough of this. Obviously, it's not going to take too long because it is a playing card tarot, but to me, this is about perfection, right? This sort of playing card, but then with it expanded to the full playing card of tarot, right? So we know that tarot was originally a playing card with the 4 suits of the playing cards, and then they added a set of triumphs or trumps onto it for a trick-taking game. And so that is how we got the format, the format of tarot. So one of my most used decks is this Arcana tarot playing cards. I love this deck. I use it so much. If I want to add some quick extra cards, it's a nice size because it's playing card size. It has the playing card suits and the well, they're all playing card suits, but it has the, I would say, French and Italian suits on there, and it of course has a full courts of 4, and playing cards have different numbers of suits of courts, so it's not completely out of the realm of normal to have a 4-card court. So it's got that extra court in there, and then of course it has the major arcana. So I adore this deck. It is a favorite deck of mine, and it is also a very well used deck of mine. I love it. Now recently I also picked up and I've done a walkthrough of the Rider-Waite playing card deck, and this is probably the first Rider-Waite Smith deck that I can actually say I really like this deck a lot. I adore the backing. So it has all, this is a little bit different in that it has the full image of the Rider-Waite Smith, and then it just has it doesn't have the playing card associations symbols. It just has the tarot version of the symbols on the corners and the indices, right? I'm sorry, Isabel is snoring really loud, but I don't really feel like waking her up. And I don't know why this is all whopper-jawed, but I really like this. Again, I think it's great. It has the great size. It has the full majors. Let's see, what did they do with the majors? They kind of did where they have the 4 elements on the corners for the majors. Let's see what they did. I'm gonna have to move her. She is like snoring loudly. Snoring loud. I can't think off the top of my head. I think it's just number. No. So they have it more set up like a normal tarot deck with the majors here. So I really love both of these kinds of decks. This one is much more recent. I've had this one for a long time. And then of course someday I'll be finished with. I'm actually really close. I just kind of got stalled out. But my Nellie's deck, which is my version of a perfect deck, right, these are the majors. Now I'm actually only have, I think, 12 left to do of the majors, and then I'm totally done. So I need to knock that out. I have put in the majors a key with the number, so that's how I've done my majors. And then in my minors, I have the French and the Italian suit drawn out in the corners, and then I have a fortune-telling deck, Lenormand, and an expanded fortune-telling deck throughout the whole thing. I did my jacks, my court cards. I did jacks, kings, queens, and pages. Sometimes people put the jacks in the position of the page, and then they go ahead and do the knight, king, queen. Sometimes you'll see page then and you have that page, and then the jack is the knight. So it just depends on how people tend to do that. I did the pages, to me, very a little bit different energy than the knights, and I thought the jack energy went a little bit closer with knight energy for me personally. So obviously this is a type of deck that I really love, as it's my ultimate tarot deck that I'm making. So clearly it's a format that I love. But when my friend Jamie had pointed this particular deck out on Kickstarter, I was like, yes, it's like a no-brainer. I think it was a pretty cheap little deck. I will try to find it. It was a Kickstarter. I'm not sure if it's being sold. I just got this, so they may be. A lot of times with Kickstarter, they get all the Kickstarter put out and, you know, into the mail before then they'll set it up maybe for post Kickstarter sale. So I don't know one way or another. I will try to find a link for them outside of the Kickstarter link and put that in the description box below. So look for that there. So again, now all that ramble to say, this is the standard playing card tarot. Now what I was super excited about this for was because it comes just what looks like a standard playing card box. I really love, you know, that it just has that sort of vibe of a playing card box as well, and it just is, you know, there's no pretentiousness at all. It's just like, hello, I'm a standard playing card tarot. There you go. Do what you will. Here are, oops, let's go. Here are the backs of them. Again, they look like a standard playing card. And then we have the bulk of the cards are a standard playing card, as you would assume. The aces are special. I left those out because I want to talk about those when we get down, start looking at the cards. They've made the aces, which aces generally do have a little more flair to them, but there is definitely extra flair on the aces. And then on these courts, we have the jack as the pages, the cavalier as the knights, but it's very clear because you can see that they very much look like knights. And then we have the queens and the kings. But if you see, these are the standard playing card images that you will see that we have known and loved for many, many, many years. And then what they've done is they've gone in and made the majors in that exact same style. And we'll obviously look through these, and they're reversible just like, so these are not reversible, I guess I should say, because if you turn it around, it is going to be the exact same because that's how playing card courts are. And so so that's what they've done with the majors there. So and then they have jokers too, and I really like that they did two, a red and a black joker, because in folk traditions, folk playing card traditions, you will often see the red and the black jokers being used in different ways. They have different meanings to the red joker and the black joker. So I really like that they did that, and they have sort of a tarot reader over here and a crystal ball reader over here. I really love these, and I probably will put these into the deck. I'm going to play around with it. We'll see. Okay, so that's what they're doing. They're making, and it feels like a great linen cardstock set of playing cards. So I am super stoked about this. Let's zoom in. Let's talk here for a second. There is actually a little guidebook here, so let's take a look at that. It's obviously very little. It does not fit into the box itself. Obviously that would have been ideal to have it fit into the box. It looks like it was intended possibly to be able to do so, but the cards fit in here perfectly, minus the book. I think that that's fine. You know, again, I think that by the time, if you're using a deck like this, you're probably relatively comfortable with the basic meanings of the cards. So they go into the suits. The deck uses a standard suit of a deck of American playing cards, and it gives the general associations that they go to: hearts to cups, clubs to wands, diamonds to coins, and spades to swords. There are, you know, people do approach those differently, but that would be the standard way way that people do that. They do bring in the idea of the colors, that you do have the black and the red, and that's something that you can pull into your readings because of having those colors there. And it's a fantastic addition to be able to pull into the cards. They do put a note on reversals because obviously this deck was made to match a style of standard playing cards. The artwork has rotational symmetry. As such, there are no meanings given for reversals. So then they give you the trump cards, and they give them in some keywords here. They give you a couple keywords, and then I do like this little bit here where they give you and focus in on what they consider to be sort of the key symbolisms. We'll look at those in a minute when we look at the majors. And then they give you the face cards. They have the kings, and then they give you an idea of what kind of person the king would be if they were clubs, hearts, spades, or diamonds. So you have the kings and the queens and the cavaliers or the knights and the jacks. What they mean in general, like kings are leaders, masculine personalities, queens are nurturers, feminine personalities, cavaliers are transitional, combative personalities, and jacks are youthful, active personalities. And then really more detail about the personality based off of whether they're clubs, hearts, spades, or diamonds. So definitely going off of the traditional both playing card as well as tarot. If you look at older tarot texts, the courts as actual people and personalities is traditional. I don't read my courts that way, but that makes sense why they would be there. And then for the pips, they give you, I do love that they give you the basic keywords for the number. How are they defining the number? And then when you add that number in with the suit, this is some keywords for that. So, and this is really a very clean and simple way to read tarot. It is where my base is at. What is the number and what does that number mean? What is a suit? What does that suit to mean? And when you combine those two things together, what does that mean as a basic meaning? So that's what they've done there. So that is just literally 16 pages of this little tiny guidebook. And then they have this beautiful rose window spread, like a huge majors only spread. And they go through and kind of show you how to read that in the different stages that are there. And then they give you a playing card game. So they say this project was always intended to be as much about game playing as cartomancy, and I include here the rules for the game that inspired this deck to be made. And it is Kerr's Kemetic Unorthodox Rat Screw. This is based on a popular game, Egyptian Rat Screw, which in turn is loosely based on the game of War, if you've ever played the game of War and playing cards. And then they give some different rules for the playing card, and like what you're going to do when the majors come in, and it looks like there are rules for different kinds of things like that. I've never played this, but I'll definitely be willing to give it a try. And then they give you a American tarot. So there's no shortage of games in the tarot family, but I wanted to add a game with a more American flavor to the mix. The following pulls inspiration from many of the American trick-taking games such as Wizard, Pinochle, Oshaw, and Huckleback. And so gives you some rules, what are the values of the cards, and how to play that. So I would say roughly, I wouldn't even say half. Well, let's see. Yeah, a little more than half, a little less than half on the, well, Yeah, I would say about half on a synopsis into cartomancy and about half on a couple options of playing card games to play the deck with is what you get in the little guidebook. So that's what we have there. Again, as I said, the box is a nice constructed. It feels really sturdy. It's not like a smushy wobbly one. It feels like a nice basic playing card box, as it should be. It did also come, now I don't know, again, if they're selling this outside of Kickstarter, you'll have to read the description, whether this is just a Kickstarter thing, if they're even selling this beyond the Kickstarter. I don't know if this is going to be included, but it's a nice kind of velour little bag there for that, which the box and the little guidebook can go inside. And then, of course, we get to the cards. I did want to lay out the aces here because I did really like how, maybe we'll put them right side up. These are obviously not reversible. Well, this one is. So I will zoom it out a little bit so make sure you can see. So the aces are really beautiful, and I do quite like how they have kind of amped them up, because I read aces as very similar to Major Arcana level energy, and so this makes them stand really nicely with the flavor of the quartz, and then of course, because they're the similar, very nicely with the flavor of the majors. But then it has, as you can see, the spades has the ace of spades has two swords crossed in it. We have the clubs that have wands inside of the veins here of the clover. We have the diamond that has a coin at each of the corners, and then we have the heart that is rising out of a cup, and we have a cup inside of the heart. So really merging together the two sets of symbols in the aces, and I really like how those look. So I wanted to point those out kind of separately. And then, of course, as I already talked about, there is two jokers, and we have the red joker and the black joker. I tend to, if I leave jokers in, which is not very often, but if I do leave a joker in, for me, it's sort of a random card. There is some twist of fate that is happening outside of the scope of what would normally be happening, and it would be usually of a negative bent if it was the black card, and it would be of a positive bent if it was in the red. This is generally how I would read the joker. So I'm not sure if I'll leave these in or not. Again, I don't traditionally work with jokers in playing card divination. They didn't come into being until, I believe, the 1800s, and so you know, most older playing card divination isn't utilizing jokers because there weren't jokers. Now you see it again more in sort of American folk traditions of playing cards, because they would have been certainly when these, after the time in which these were used, they would have been included in decks of cards, and so you do see some traditions there. So I like that they added them. Whether I use them or not, I'm not sure. I might give them a whirl. Okay, so this should go pretty quickly. I'm going to hold it actually for the first part here till we get to the majors. So this is literally set up like a set of playing cards. You have your two, they're in their traditional pip formations. Have your 5 in the middle, you have your 6 clear pathway through. You have your 7s the way that I like them, and is the way they traditionally should be. You know, you're walking down the road and you hit a blockage. You can either, you know, use it to lift yourself up, or you can trip over it, whichever is going to happen. We have the strong power of the 8 standing in the center. We have the 9s that is really dynamic, kind of chaotic energy that you kind of get blocked from getting to the center either way. And then, of course, the 10 all is complete. So it's the standard pip formations, and if you've ever seen a deck of playing cards, a very standard formation. On the jacks, the queens, and the kings in the style that you have, except we've added in here the knights with their helmets that make it very clear that this is a page and this is a knight, on top of having the jack and the C for cavalier. So that's what we have with our minors. So they all kind of, there's your spades, nice and black, easy to read. There's your jack, there's your knight. I like the winged helmet there. Again, traditional queen and king. We have our hearts, all's well in the world of hearts. We have our jack, we have our knight. Very, very Knights of the Round Table a feeling with that helmet, which I do appreciate. And we have our spades. Again, good, solid, traditional backing. Very interesting helmet there, and he's looking straight forward, one foot in front of the other, with the Knights of diamonds. So I quite like the Cavaliers depictions. And then here are our majors. So let's zoom in here. And as I said before, as I pointed out, these are reversible. There's nothing that's going to tell you which direction they are. And so this, you know, if you are somebody who uses reversals, this isn't probably going to be a deck for you. Now you can put like a little red dot or blue dot to match at the bottom of playing cards if you want to utilize reversals with playing cards. I don't with playing cards or with tarot, so it's not really a problem for me. One way or another. But again, they've kept the visual of the courts, traditional court playing cards. Where did I put the deck? But then they've added in, obviously, to make it look like the majors. And in this case, the flower is important and the bundle. It says bindle, but I'm pretty sure they mean this little bundle here. So those being the important symbols. Here we have the magician. This one's probably my least favorite just because he looks extremely youthful. I do like that there is an androgynous look, although I actually think most playing cards have a quite androgynous look to them anyways. The major symbols are the chaos star, the wand, and the pointing up and down, as above so below, as well as the four suits that are shown in the middle. I guess this is a chaos star here, and we have the pointing here as well. With the magician, I love this high priestess, just called the priestess. Symbolism, the moon, which we have in here in several forms. The light and the dark pillars are still part of the equation, and the book that she's holding. I love this high priestess. Here we have the Empress. She's, of course, holding her Venus sign here, and then there are hearts that are attached to the sides. If you folded this, that would create a heart, kind of back and forth heart. So that's what they have there. Here we have the Emperor. They point out the ram's head on this one. I don't actually see a ram's head in this. Obviously you have the orb, and then you have the scepter, but I don't actually see a ram's head. I'm sure somebody's saying, oh, I guess right here. Kind of a very symbolic of a ram's head, I guess. Here we have the Hierophant, we have the sort of benediction, we have the staff that we would normally see. Obviously has sort of that robes that are going on, and we can see the cross there, crosses that are there for the Hierophant. Here we have the lovers. I do like how, you know, they incorporated the two lovers in, but still, it still has that reversible quality there. which is really nice as well. The serpent is there, the apple is there, and the flower is there from the traditional lover's card. I love it. I really love this chariot. I like the flowing horse. It kind of reminds you of the energy of the Two of Pentacles here, but you've got sort of these wheels here. You've got the horses there, and I quite like that. I do like that chariot. Now, obviously, they, and in this case, not obvious, well, it is obvious because strength's at 8. So they have strength in the Rider-Waite position instead of in the traditional. I would have preferred that they had it in the traditional because, you know, really the only person who swapped it is a Rider-Waite Smith. So in terms of even leaning into playing card history, I would have stuck with the Justice at 11 and strength at, or Justice at 8 and Strength at 11 is how I would have preferred it. But that is not the case with this one. And truthfully, it's not the end of the world, right? We all have decks that have these, strength means the strength. Whatever strength means to you, it means, whether it's on a card that's numbered 8 or 11, and justice means whatever justice means to you, whether or not whatever number it says in the corner, right? So this doesn't really, it's not my preference, but it doesn't stop me from using it. It's strength is strength, justice is justice, whatever number you stick at it, I'm still going to read it the same way. Beautiful strength card, though. I love the way that she's looking. They're kind of gazing at each other, and they're really fully connected here. Love this hermit. Love, love, love this hermit. I love the color tones. I love the lantern. I love the kind of like Star of David in the middle. It's just really beautiful. I think it is gorgeous. Here we have the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Jackal here, we have the roulette table as well, and we have the swords that we would maybe see of the person who's standing, usually sitting on the top of the wheel. I do, of course, like that it is the playing card suits, which makes sense in this deck. Here we have Justice. We've got the scales, we've got the sword. We can either, you know, be happy for the 11 or just ignore the 11. Either way works fine. But, you know, the scales, you know, stand out, and it's quite clear that this is Justice. Here we have the Hanged Man, and this was interesting that they doubled it, but I think you would have to, obviously, because it's not, they wanted to get the leg symbolism in there with the crossed leg, with the pose that he's traditionally in. And so if it was just obviously the one, you would know when it's upright or right side up, and so they would have to double it to make it that way. But it looks really cool. So I don't mind it. Love the Death card. I love the skull here. I love, again, that twisty horse. They do have the Tudor rose that we see. You have the scythe, you have the pale horse that's there. I think it's really gorgeous. Again, I like the color tones in this one as well. Here we have Temperance, a cool format for that, with the kind of almost like a quilt, but almost reminds me of like when you look at like Alice in Wonderland and the different card people where it's just their heads and then you see the great big card, right, and then just little feet underneath it, excuse me. It kind of reminds me of that, but I like that you can see the fluid flowing back and forth between the two cups. You also have a fire and water, right, symbol there as well, which I quite like. Here we have the Devil, looking quite dashing and debonair, and maybe like he's taking a run for the Olympics, which I enjoy, makes me smile. Pentacle chains, torch, and the diamonds are what they wanted to pull over in terms of symbol and focus on in terms of symbolism. Love the tower. You got the lightning strike. I even like the sort of jagged way that combining two towers together gives that sort of discordant, like things are just getting whopper-jawed. I quite like the way that they've depicted the tower there. Lovely, lovely, lovely star card here. I really love her face and her hair, and I love the owl that is there as well, and then the star formation here of Pleiades, I think that is there. So I really love that star card. Beautiful moon. You see the light and the dark of the moon and the path that we often see in the moon. But I quite like this. I don't often like faces in moons or suns, but I like that face. And I just like the darkness and the light side that we see with the moon there clearly. Here we have the sun with the compass rose and then this more circular rays, and you can see that the 4 suits are all in those circular rays, which is pretty cool. Here we have Judgment, which is the angel that we would see with the trumpet blowing overhead for Judgment, which makes sense. And then the beautiful world card here where you have the laurel wreath, you have the 4 suits in balance, and then there's lots of use of circles in terms of the world, which I think works, again, really, really well. So absolutely love this deck. Let's give it a shuffle. I have not shuffled it because I've been keeping it aired out to try. It really did stink. I'm not even kidding. It was pretty gross smelling. I now have to smell really hard to smell it, so I know that I'm going to continue to leave it out. I'll probably just stick it in the bag for a while without the box just to get that smell fully gone. I'm not going to shuffle those in for right now. So let's give it a shuffle. It should shuffle beautifully. It feels like good linen playing card stock, even with the 78 cards. It's still a little bit harder. You know, you got to probably pay more attention on the bridge, but certainly bridgeable. So love the card stock. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Get it broken a little bit, and I think this will really, I mean, now I'm proving it wrong how well it shuffles, but it's a little slippy, but I think that's pretty standard for a deck of playing cards, especially when they're fresh and new. But it really does riffle quite well, and you can bridge it. So I think all in all, it is my, oh my goodness, it is my ideal. I'm too used to shuffling like a regular, I assume this is the exact same size as a typical deck of playing cards. Yes, and I would say it's a little bit thicker, and that might be also throwing me off a little bit. It's probably it's thicker than a bicycle playing card. So obviously this is a bicycle playing card deck. Let me just do a, I don't want to riffle in the extra cards here, so let me pull that out. And that is an extra card as well. Do I have all of the, yeah. So let me just do this one. So I'm pretty sure that's just slightly thicker, yeah. And then obviously you only have 52 cards versus 78 cards, but this stock is just a little bit thicker than a bicycle playing card stock. Now there are other playing card stocks that are this thickness, but with the 78 cards, but I really like it. I wouldn't change anything about it. I think it shuffles really nicely, and am quite happy with it. It's got that beautiful linen that I love in a playing card deck. So let's do our normal. What does it look like in my setup of my version, I guess, of a Celtic cross? Past, present, and future. Position of fire, position of air, position of water, position of earth. Do this, don't do this. As you can see, The Fool and the major cards here really stand out well with the, they incorporate really well with the quartz. They did a great job. I like that they used the blue coloration. This is all black and white, so they didn't change, and their major stands out quite separately. They used black as their color for the majors, which is not actually my preference. When I went through trying to decide what I was going to do with Nellie's deck, because I do pay attention to the colors in the way that I read. Oh, I don't have the example here. These are the old examples. But obviously I have black and red for the minors, but my majors are going to be sepia toned because I've used this deck so much. And the fact of the matter is that when you read playing card style, when you read tarot, I guess I should say that would be the best way to say, in a playing card style, the way that I read them, right? This is over this, this is over this, this is over this. And you do a lot of combinations of colors, right? And that tells us something when we're just scanning the colors in playing card divination. And if this is black, that would skew the black, black, red, red. Or if you had, say, black, you know, if we swap these, if you had black, black, red, that would really skew this to being black, black, red, instead of it's not really black, black, red, right? It is the majors and then it's a black and a red. And so I think it's important to, if you're making a deck like this, I think it's important to have the majors in a different color than the black and the red so that it doesn't get mixed up. If you're like me and you combine some playing card style reading in with tarot, this type of tarot deck, that would throw things off. So I really do like that they have changed that colorway into blue. That makes this to be an extremely workable deck for me. I am considering going in at the bottom and putting my Nellie associations onto the bottom and making this sort of another option in the system so I can read it the same way that I read Nellie's. So yeah, makes this to me a win-win, right? Really, the only thing that doesn't make it absolutely perfect is the strength and the justice, but that does not stop me in any way, shape, or form. And so I'm super, super excited to have this second. It was cheap. Again, I don't know what it's going to be if they sell it outside of the Kickstarter, but it was a cheap deck. I want to say it was $15, but I don't, don't quote me on it. On the Kickstarter, I think it was $15, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, I'm really excited to have this deck, and certainly going to be put into my rotation of actually using. Like I said, this deck I use a lot, and I really like, actually, this is probably going to stay on my table, because it does allow me to pick the extra playing cards that I might want to pick, or tarot cards that I might want to pick, but it also gives me that quick option of sort of color if I want to do a quick yes and no, or something like that. I could still use this as well. Of course, I always have multiple playing card decks on my table all the time, but this one, my intention is just to keep on the table. So love it. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day.